have to see for myself. But your sense of purpose and calm gives me some relief.
I'll be here when you return. If you still think I'm a threat then, well, I'll surrender myself to your judgment.
Patients are not fools. They know we are overwhelmed by horrifying.
How are you this evening, Jonathan?
The scowl that escaped from the hospital is eluding me. He must be caught.
Scowls are a risk to the balance we maintain. It needs to be stopped.
You certainly hate scowls.
No, not hate. I pity them. Damaged and broken for eternity. Can you imagine, Jonathan? Can you imagine what they must be suffering?
I would not have labeled them all the same. I've met some that are quite clever, in fact. Much like people.
I am sorry. You should know scowl is derived from slave. Vampires have never looked kindly on their lesser progeny.
Do you think they can be trusted?
They are weaker than us in every sense. From their abilities to being able to control their hunger. There is a savagery in them.
The head of the guard of Prewan stopped by to see Dr. Swansea.
You have nothing to fear. The guard would not risk openly challenging the Brotherhood. Even they are not that foolish.
Now that the hunters are aware of my presence, they could discover your whereabouts too.
Don't worry. I've evaded those jackals in the past, and I shall do so in the future. And besides, who would ever suspect the kind Samaritan Lady Ashbury?
I noticed there was no love lost between the Brotherhood and the Guard.
They share the same fascination in our species, but they diverge from any commonality in thought. Talk to Dr. Swansea if you wish to know more.
When we were at the funeral, I had a feeling. I think I met my maker.
You do not have to tell me if you don't wish to.
Should I not?
In most circumstances, a vampire would not discuss his maker. There is a strong bond that exists between a maker and their progeny.
There is almost nothing to say. He appeared in a gush of blood, prattled off some riddles, and vanished without even telling me his name.
Be on guard, Jonathan. Whoever your maker is, he's obviously as powerful as he is elusive.
Goodbye for now, my lady.
Time has lost its effect on me. But the suffering...
Jonathan, have you got any news about Sean Hampton?
I'm still investigating. In the meantime, I have some questions.
All right, just ask.
Tell me, Edgar, how did you meet Lady Ashbury?
I met her 9 years ago. I was working in Scotland at the time in a sanatorium the good lady visited from time to time. She subsequently offered me a position here, at the Pembroke Hospital.
Why offer you this position?
I'd already been experimenting with blood-borne diseases and transfusion methods. Without success, I'm afraid. How could I refuse such a fascinating creature? So, in 1911, I took charge of the Pembroke.
Pembroke Hospital. Why that name?
I'm not quite sure. I think it's meant to refer to the Earl of Pembroke. Perhaps it's someone she used to know?
Tell me, Edgar, have you ever heard about a vampire made of blood? I mean, without any physical form, but a shape of blood.
What are you talking about? Have you seen such a phenomenon yourself?
No. I was just daydreaming. Since blood seems to be the key of our existence, I imagined what could be the ultimate state of a vampire.
I see. Well, too bad you didn't see such a creature. It could have been a fascinating subject of observation.
What is the antagonism between your Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole and the Guard of Prewin?
It is an old and sad story, Jonathan. The story of a betrayal and of a definitive schism.
Who betrayed who?
I suppose each side would tell you the fault lies with the other. This I know for sure. A long time ago, members of the Brotherhood chose to hunt down vampires.
How many are you in the Brotherhood?
You mean today? Not many. A dozen, perhaps even less since the war. We are scholars, Jonathan. We favor quality to quantity.
Tell me, Edgar, have you ever heard about a vampire made of blood? I mean, without any physical form, but a shape of blood.
The wet boots shouldn't be fighting each other.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Do you need any help?
Rest assured, I will help you, sir. Martin Nightingale, at your service. Please, take a look at my wares.
Your merchandise. I don't really see anything worth having. No offense.
None taken, sir. But please, I need to eat. Perhaps if you keep looking, you'd see something that takes your fancy.
Goodbye. Good evening, young man.
There's no need to call me that, Dr. Reed.
I found this watch. It belonged to Miss Gillingham, but I thought you might find it useful.
That makes sense. She would have forgotten about the watch by the next day.
If you say so.
Take this for your trouble, Dr. Reed. I will not forget your gesture, I swear.
Show me what you have to offer then, Mr. Nightingale. Good evening, young man.
There's no need to call me that, Dr. Reed.
Show me what you have to offer then, Mr. Nightingale. Good evening, young man.
There's no need to call me that, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about the neighborhood? Have you got any friends around these parts?
Not really. Miss Gillingham smiles and says kind words, but I know she's lost her marbles, especially since her son died.
Tell me about this crazy woman. Madness is often mistaken for other conditions.
The poor woman's mad, all right. Kind and all, but she has so much trouble remembering things. She's taken me for a son more than once.
Let me be frank. You're as much of a businessman as I am a werewolf, right?
Who the hell are you to question me? It's hard enough to stay clean when you don't have a place to sleep. I'm doing my best here.
I meant no offense, Mr. Nightingale. I was merely pointing out the fact that you're unlikely to survive long if you continue wandering this path.
And what should I do then, sir? Should I join the Wet Boot Boys like so many others? No thanks. I'd rather be a bad seller than a dead gang member.
It's time to confess, Martin. You've exploited Miss Gillingham's weakness to your own advantage, have you not?
All I've done is smile at her and be kind to her. I've done no other harm than giving her what she needed. This is no crime.
You really are convinced you did nothing wrong. Young man, you are a fascinating case of shameless selfishness.
You can blame my folks for that. They taught me never to expect nothing from anyone except lies.
So it's bad parenting then? How convenient. Where are your parents?
6 feet under, I suppose. When the flu had weakened my father enough for him to be too weak to punch me, I figured it was time to run away.
Goodbye. Good evening, Mr. Throgmorton.
Dr. Reed, can I be of any assistance? Have you noticed anything suspicious lately?
What can you tell me about this neighborhood?
Did you hear about what happened to Jack Gillingham? Poor boy. It's a shame I wasn't around to protect him.
It's impossible to protect everyone. The violence seems endemic in this part of town.
But it's my duty. I am convinced Jack Gillingham was killed by a vampire. These evil rodents are spreading like a plague.
So, how exactly are you protecting these people? I'm curious.
I patrol late at night, investigating anything unusual. I try and encourage people to stay indoors, but people are careless.
Can I help in any way?
Actually, yes. I plan to put up posters to alert the population to the vampire threat.
Are you asking me to paste posters about vampires around the docks?
If you wouldn't mind. If you did that, then I can focus on my patrols.
Goodbye, and good hunting, Mr. Throckmorton. Informing London's inhabitants of the presence of vampires. What does that make me? A double or a triple agent? Done. Mr. Throgmorton should be happy. Good evening, Mr. Throgmorton.
Dr. Reed, can I be of any assistance? Have you noticed anything suspicious lately?
I put up your public service announcement. Consider the common folk warned about the vampiric presence.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. You may not realize it, but you saved a great many lives today.
Do you really think they could be useful?
See the sad saint of the East End? How a single man can help so many people? I consider myself the discreet protector of these men and women.